Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And welcome back to Going in Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. It's Wednesday, which means it's time once again for us to read your pro wrestling hot takes, and then we comment on those hot takes. What's up first, Larson?
First, we got a hot take here from Guts. 124 says both wrestling companies suck right now.
Oh, wow. We also have a couple others that might dive a little bit more into that. Well, Jaime Solemn says wrestling is generic right now, which is a little bit different than straight up sucking. And then a little bit more specific, SL Sleem 06 says WWE is in a massive creative slump, with the only saving graces being the SmackDown tag and the Raw women's division. So, Larson, are we in a slump right now across the board? WWE, AEW, everything. Is it all just awful? What's going on?
No, it's not awful, but rarely is it genuinely exciting. Mm-hmm. And I can see if the monotony of competence could seem maybe a bit uninteresting. I don't think anything necessarily sucks, but there's outside, like in AEW, for example, outside of Hangman winning the title, which was a really well-told story that had a great moment at the end, him winning the championship, holding it up, getting out of the briefcase. That was, I think, the highlight of AEW's year thus far, in terms of the stories they're telling. Well done, for the most part, fairly competent. And it had a few moments that I thought approached, outside of him winning the actual title, a few moments that I thought actually really approached those, oh shit, either, wow, this is surprising, wow, this is shocking, or, oh man, I'm really feeling this moment as it relates to the story. I don't know if they ever got there, except in terms of him actually physically holding up that title for the first time after he won it. And you look at WWE, probably the most notable thing this year is Cena's heel turn. Mm-hmm. The moment itself, really well done, kind of hit or miss thereafter. Seems like both companies' approach right now is to keep the storytelling, simple is not the word, but uncomplicated, I feel like, at this point. In terms of how the stories are constructed, and they're relying on the strength of the characters in said story to add the depth and dimension, but it's all dependent on the nature, the dynamics between the characters involved, whether there's that spark or not. And rather than actually plotting out a story that builds to huge moments, the moments seem to rely more so on the strength of the characters and not so much on like scripted out segments, plotted out for weeks or months to build to a conclusion.
Yeah, it's funny. There's an interesting dichotomy right now where you look at, let's just focus on WWE for a moment. You look at the WWE crowds and they're still, jam-packing these places. I know they've recently been on the European stint, but you look at the crowds and you wouldn't be able to tell that wrestling sucks. They have a lot of, it's funny because they've got a lot of characters who are so over that you see a lot of discourse revolve around, well, why isn't LA Knight being world champion? They've got a lot of people that are really, really popular with these crowds. But I think the point that I agree with you most on is with WWE anyways, Triple H is keeping it simple, which in some cases sort of means everything's par for the course. There's nothing that is overwhelmingly, and we've said this a million times, and I do not want to sound like a broken record, but the Bloodline stuff was seemingly at this point an outlier as opposed to, some new wave of, storytelling. The thing about, and it does seem like when you gamble on one saga for the year, which as you mentioned was John Cena's heel turn. That was the big saga that we were getting for the year. And it ends up kind of like petering out before it really even gets started.
Yeah, there's no huge build moment where he turns babyface. He just kind of wakes up one morning and decides he's a babyface now.
I was at the big anime convention with Bama this weekend, and I ran into one of my old friends, this dude named Anthony from back in the day when I used to do comic books here in the local scene. And you know, we see each other, I don't know, a couple times a year at most. And he was like, "Hey, how's the wrestling world going?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's, you know, ups and downs like always." And he said, "What was the fan reaction to Cena going back to being a good guy?" Like he knew what I was about to say. He was like, because I was like, "Yeah, you know," it was like, it just sort of happened. He was like, "Yeah, that's what a lot of my friends are saying, is that it just sort of happened." So I think it's not just like the internet wrestling discourse is that. It's Cena showed up on a SmackDown one day and said, "Yeah, I was convinced by a bunch of people to go bad, and now I'm good again, Cody. Thanks." And then now we're getting like really good match guy Cena for his last couple of appearances. So yeah, I don't know. I suspect, you know, WrestlePalooza, this looks like a show that they're really, really loading up, and maybe the combination of that and All Out going up against each other will maybe spur these companies to bring us some moments that are like, "Oh, damn, I want to know what happens next." Because right now, you know, I mean, one of the things that I agree with when it comes to some of the discourse that I see out there is, and in fact, one of the comments in our hot takes thread echoed this sentiment. Raw definitely is following that kind of authority level template.
Yeah.
Where you have the vision, open up the show, the vision closes the show. You know, it's kind of this copy paste to a degree. And it's not really the most like, "Oh, I want to see what happens next week," because we kind of know what's going to happen next week.
Kind of know. So I thought about something too. Not only is there that, but on both Raw and SmackDown, there's a very consistent formula. Not that it happens all the time. It even goes back years, way before Triple H took over, where you have an opening segment where stuff happens some way or another, a challenge is issued, leading to your main event.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact percentage of WWE programming over the last 25 years that has followed that template. I would wager to say it's the majority of it.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Fairly often, there's an opening segment. It's either someone comes out and talk, there's a match that inevitably leads to that brand's general manager coming out and saying, "Guess what? We have a match later on tonight," whether it's a tag match, singles match, whatever the case may be. And on one respect, I understand, because it feels like the show is being birthed as we're watching it, and it feels spontaneous. Except when it happens with such regularity that you're like, okay, this is just their storytelling convention they use on the show to make me feel like, oh, this is Raw or SmackDown is like an organic thing that is moldable as the show goes on.
The one thing that WWE, and we'll talk about AEW in a second, but the one thing WWE has going for it that I think would be killer if they explored it more, and that is, and we've said this again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the characters really understand, the performers really understand the characters they're playing. And so when you get character dynamics that conflict, it's your most interesting stuff. Like, for example, right now, the stuff with Asuka, Kairi, and Neo. It's like whenever they show up, I'm like, oh, I want to see what Asuka's going to do now. And it's usually minor backstage stuff. They, you know, this past week on Raw, they had the match with Judgment Day, and that kind of motivated some more stuff with the Io Sky stuff. But on the flip side of that, you have Adam Pearce just saying, hey, instead of this title's vacated, Stephanie Vaquer has a good case for being one participant. But instead of saying, hey, let's have a bunch of matches to determine who else is going to take on Stephanie Vaquer, guess what? It's Io. It's just going to be Io because she was champion before. And so it's like you want some of the so I mean that's sort of one thing, but going back to the most interesting stuff is the dynamics between the characters and where their ambitions sort of come against each other. And it's not so that's like one thing that they can sort of hold on to.
Lean on. And I feel like sometimes they lean on it at the expense of actually investigating some more interesting stories.
Like, let's get some plot beats now.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing for the characters to have ambitions and goals that might come into conflict. It's another thing for then there to be varying story beats that happen that further complicate things. And I understand it's wrestling, and at the end of the day, Triple H is, he's kind of a traditionalist when it comes to wrestling, and he keeps things simple, and he has definitely his template that he follows, but it's rarely like, and it's these days it's like, man, now you're asking people to pony up a lot of money to keep up, like on the totality of your product. You look at these crowds and you think, well, it's seemingly they're doing all right. They can do that. But whether or not that is going to continue is going to be a different thing. AEW, they're kind of in a storyline rebuilding mode. They just had their WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not willing to say, it's not like they came out guns a-blazing, although their A story, the Hangman stuff, has been pretty good. Like the MJF stuff has been pretty good so far.
It's been really solid, yeah.
So that's been all right. But that's always something that I feel like AEW has needed more of. When they it's kind of rare that they get the character stuff interact. The Hangman Swerve stuff obviously has been the most interesting over the past 6 months, when you see Swerve having to then justify helping Hangman and Ospreay in the middle of it. That was some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
But they lean on the actual in-ring product, which when you're not really telling stories in a soap opera standpoint, wanting to know what happens next is kind of more difficult to pull off. And so I feel like sometimes their product is just like, okay, well, let's motivate some matches now. Now you got the stuff with Edge and Christian, which I think is pretty good. But like All Out at this point, All Out's kind of like Backlash. It's like, Forbidden Door was kind of that, but like it's Forbidden Door. But we're kind of in Backlash territory with AEW right now. There's literally one match on the Wikipedia page for it, and that's Edge and Christian versus FTR. And it's like that shit's 3 weeks away. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming they're going to make a lot of stuff official this week and next week.
Yeah, they kind of have to, unless they're going to have a one-match card.
But yeah, none of the programming really is, what's going to happen next? I am kind of curious to see like what they bring over the next 2 weeks with WrestlePalooza and AEW with All Out, and see if maybe we can kickstart some like, what is going to happen next?
That'd be great. Based on how WWE seems to be constructing WrestlePalooza currently, it seems like, and granted, we have a couple 2.5 weeks before the show begins, so hopefully we'll get some interesting story beats, but it's marquee value.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Usos back together, Brock Cena, the mixed tag.
Yeah. It feels like more so, all right, we're going to put as much star power as we can into this show as possible to get the eyeballs on it. And it kind of, what I see now on main roster WWE, it's starting to feel a lot more, not in terms of the characters on the show, but in terms of how the show's put together, like Triple H's NXT.
Mm-hmm.
It's just feud. And with NXT's, at least we knew at TakeOver, they deliver. Main roster has benefited at this point to having more established, more well-defined characters that aren't kind of all of the same mold, like was kind of the case in NXT in like 2017, 2018, 2019. And so, as I said, this really feels like far too often Crave is just leaning on the strength of the characters and the ability of the performers to portray these characters, instead of putting them in situations that are actually riveting. And then you see really how the character dynamics, amplify the story being told and vice versa.
Yeah. And you got to ask yourself, is what metrics are they looking at to dictate what they're doing? Can they continue to rely on the marquee value of the people they built? Because they have successfully been able to keep the audience interested in what the characters do, at least from a live crowd perspective. It's hard to argue with the attendance numbers. So it's just sort of like, okay, well, we'll see what their longer term plan is. There's always a summertime lull. That's just sort of tradition as they gear up for, War Games. And then obviously we're on the road to WrestleMania after that. The road gets longer and longer. So we'll see what happens with all that. Before we continue on with the rest of your hot takes, let's talk about this really quick. It's September. The new predictions challenge happens starting, I think, on the 12th of September with Worlds Collide.
Worlds Collide, yeah.
And then September 20th, of course, the big showdown between All Out and WrestlePalooza. So if you want in on the predictions challenge, the shirt, I've designed the shirt. It's ready to go. I sent it to you. I know you had some issues with it. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that at a later date when the shirt is ready to go. But I know you said that you wanted to make an edit to it, but we'll talk about that. But kind of more importantly than that, we got a new bonus episode coming up this week, and the question threads are already up. So right now, if you want to ask a question, ask anything to Hilton, who we have scheduled for tomorrow for an interview. So we'll be putting that up as soon as that interview is done with for the bonus, for the patrons and the channel members. You can get your question in right now. The quicker, the better, because I'm going to put this up probably a couple hours before the interview happens. So get your questions in right now for Hilton, for the Hilton bonus episode. It's the Hilton shoot interview. Everybody wants to hear this. Everybody wants the real scoop on, was there a fight between you and him at that party 20 years ago? Was there, is he real? Is Hilton real? For all we know, it's going to be you and me, and then, there's going to be like a blank screen. I don't know.
It could be. I mean, this whole thing could be done entirely in AI.
It's entirely possible. So get your question in for the Hilton shoot interview. That's going to be the bonus episode for this month. And the way you get it is, of course, becoming a channel member by clicking join, or you can go to patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Click on the Friendo Club set up there. There you go. You also get access to the question threads for the recap episodes as well. Let's go ahead and dive into the rest of these hot takes here.
AJ Daniels here with a hot take says AJ Lee is highly overrated. The bar was so low in the women's division at the time that she just stood out and made people have rose-tinted glasses of her work.
I disagree with this one.
Yeah.
Because I think, it's funny because, to a degree, I understand what AJ is saying here, but I don't think you can take this line, the bar was so low in the women's division at the time that she just stood out and made people have rose-tinted glasses of her work. I don't think you can call that highly overrated. I think if you actually look at the bulk of her work, she stood out because, yes, she was so far and away more interesting than a lot of the other people there and what WWE was presenting at the time in the women's division. And the rest of she left due to injuries and apparently sort of the backlash to, her, to CM Punk leaving and her getting the CM Punk chance directed at her. And so I think that it was a shame that drove her away because it was right on the precipice. She was her arrival was, oh, this is what we want to see. This is the kind of thing that we're interested in. And then that happened 2 years later. And she was gone by then. And so it was damn it. This is what we wanted kind of women's wrestling to be. So I don't think you can call that highly overrated.
No, not at all.
A missed opportunity to see how she would have fared with other talent at that level. Yes. And I think that's the biggest that's the biggest bummer about AJ Lee is that we wanted to come back because we want to see what opportunities she would be given now against really, really top flight talent.
Yep. 1,000%. Remembering back the quality of performer she was, not just in terms of her in-ring work, but her character work as well. And it's not like she was given consistently great material to work with, but she had a charisma about her. She was convincing with whatever she was, scripted to do. There's a reason that fans want to see her back. It's not just because, who she's married to. It's because people have very fond memories of her work and want to see her return, see what she could do now. As you said, with the roster so loaded with incredibly talented performers.
It was much in the same reason why they wanted to see any number of people back under Triple H, including CM Punk. It's like, oh man, now we get to see somebody who might actually be valued by the company. That's I think a big reason why people want to see her back. Exactly what you're saying is want to see what she would be like in this environment that might actually be more tailored to what she could bring. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But no, if you go back, I mean, I implore you, go back and look at her work. It's actually really, really good. I went back today and I was like, I was like, okay, I don't remember a ton of it, but you go back and you watch and it's like, man, she really did bring a lot to an otherwise kind of, I don't know, sterile product at sometimes, mm-hmm. It's like, oh, dude, what is she going to say? What is she going to do? So, yeah.
Jay Sincere here with a hot take says it should have been Jimmy instead of Sammy to beat Solo. As popular as he's been the last couple of weeks since the pregnancy announcement, it felt perfect for him instead of Sammy.
What a great idea. I think this is totally fucking true. I agree with this. Sammy said he wants it. This dude's been harping on, I want to go after the world title. I want to go after the world title.
I know.
Well, you got the U.S. title, man. Like, Sammy's kind of above the U.S. title at this point. It's kind of world title or bust for this guy. And poor Jim, he's, running back to Jay to help him. Hey, Oos, come on. Give me some of that yeet love. Come on.
When is Jimmy going to get his own singles run? Jay has his. How come Jim Uso, isn't getting that opportunity too? I thought it'd be pretty great. Because then... Listen, like Sammy and Jacob, they don't know each other very well. Jimmy and Jacob, that's another thing entirely.
Right.
And it's pretty lame that Jacob's like totally cool with Sammy winning the U.S. title seemingly.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, that should be an issue for Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as be an issue for someone he doesn't really know, imagine the issue would be if it was someone he did know really well. A member of his family,
Yeah.
That won the title that he coveted so much.
I mean, talk about the missed opportunity for a really, really solid mid-card story.
Mm-hmm.
You have all those players that you just mentioned. Jimmy and Solo, literally brothers, family members with Jacob. He's kind of the wild card guy. Solo screws him over. Can he trust Jimmy? Can he trust Solo's brother? He sure as shit can't trust Sammy. Even though Jimmy's super close to him. Yeah, there was a big missed opportunity with all those potential dynamics, and it just turned into, oh great, Sammy got the title. And look, I like Sammy. I know there's kind of like a weird backlash to Sammy. I like Sammy.
Yeah, I like Sammy a lot.
I think it'll be great when he wins a world title if that ever happens. But which I'm sure it will. But yeah, in the meantime, it's like, do you really need that U.S. title? Do you really need that thing? I feel like AJ Styles should have won the IC title off Dom in Paris more than Sammy should have won the U.S. title off of Solo.
Yeah. All right, we got another hot take here. It says from Paleo Patient. It says Kevin Nash is right. Becky's time at WWE is desperate and overreaching.
Did you read like the entire quote from this?
I read part of the quote. Yeah. And Kevin Nash seemingly said that he seems like to him, this is Kevin Nash's hot take, that the wrestling business has effectively passed Becky by. And that now she is desperate to maintain, this is how I interpret it, a measure of relevancy. And that, in Kevin Nash's opinion, that was none more clear than, I guess, this past Monday. Not the one that just happened, the Monday prior to that.
Yeah, so like this is the actual quote. He said, and this has to do with the Osborne, the Aussie stuff. He says, I think her run's over. I think she's grasping at desperation. I think the business has passed her by. I don't think that she said anything that was derogatory to Aussie. He says he wasn't personally shocked by the line. This is from Cage Side Seats. They're editorializing. But the actual quote is this. I don't see how they always say, oh, any kind of publicity is good publicity. I don't know, man. I mean, when somebody passes and you F with the family and the daughter is the one that makes the comment, I don't think that's exactly the look that the WWE or its shareholders, which I'm one of. I'm a TKO shareholder. I don't particularly want that coming out of somebody's mouth as a shareholder.
I mean, I guess the context of him talking about the Ozzy line is important to knowing it, because if you just see the headline and read a couple paragraphs, you're like, this. I mean, no, nothing about her work overall reeks of any sort of desperation or need to stay relevant, because Becky's done, over the course of her career, done a pretty good job for the most part of remaining highly relevant in the world of pro wrestling.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I am sort of surprised. She's had like really terrific matches over the past year, or since her return. This last one was not one of them. I mean, I personally feel she does really good work as a character.
Yeah,
I think she's really entertaining when she's on the television screen. So I was kind of surprised by this. And I didn't actually watch him say this stuff. So I didn't know if he was like buying into her as a bad guy, and that's where this is coming from.
That doesn't seem to be his MO, though.
Kind of doesn't, though. It doesn't, right?
No.
So I think her run's over. I think the business has passed her by. That's pretty strong.
It is.
In any event, I mean, I disagree with it. I think that she's, she does good work.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, like everybody has their big vital moment of relevancy. For Punk, it was Pipe Bomb and then the Money in the Bank stuff. It was that chunk of time, you know. And right now, he's one of the most popular people that they got. And that's largely because of that time of relevancy.
Yeah, not much to do with what he's actually doing now, because what he's doing now is not terribly interesting.
No, but, the crowd loves CM Punk.
Yes.
And so you look at those moments of relevancy. And yes, Becky Lynch, while she was, on the road to main eventing WrestleMania and the couple of years before then, that was like her moment of relevancy, But that's not to say, but everybody outlasts their moment of relevancy and coast on that. Everybody does that. Hogan's moment of relevancy was probably Saturday Night Live 1985 or maybe 88 with Andre.
Yeah.
And look at how, and then Bash at the Beach 96, he was able to find a second moment of relevancy.
Yeah.
Which hats off to Hogan for doing that. Because right prior to that, he had run out of that relevancy.
Yeah. Yep.
Big time.
Yep.
And so, but everybody coasts or builds, I guess, maybe on that moment of relevancy and is able to sustain after a while. Punk just left for 10 years, so
less a coast thing and more of, I mean, I guess like, I'll try to think of a music analogy where a band released an album that was so highly regarded and seen as their artistic peak, and yet continued it to evolve in satisfying, for the most part, satisfying. For example, let's say Radiohead, OK Computer, lauded as one of the best albums of the 90s, taking rock music forward in a major way, specifically or especially in 1997 when that album was released. Their next album, Kid A, even a further departure from what they were doing, and regarded by some Radiohead fans as their best work. And everything past those two albums, people will debate, is it an evolution? I don't know if anybody's ever accused Radiohead of coasting.
Coasting, you're right. No, coasting is the wrong word. It is the wrong word.
Well, I mean, there's probably been times where a band has achieved, or an actor, or anybody in the arts achieved a great deal of commercial and critical success, and maybe didn't continue to evolve past that point. And coasting is a strong word for it.
Coasting's a bad word for it. You're right. I mean, there are other. You can look at. Oftentimes, I'll put it this way. Deadwood. Right? Its first season was its best season.
Oh, yeah.
Its third season is better than most other shows any season. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it's like with CM Punk, the Pipe Bomb was his best season. That's not to say he's not having, in a lot of people's eyes, and I know, even you and I disagree to a degree because you're a Punk hater, and we have another hot take about that later.
Certainly not a Punk hater.
But he's not doing anything as compelling as he was back then. But people still really, really love the guy, and he still has some spark to him, And so you see this goes across creative, mediums, whether it's actors or like you say, musicians, bands, or TV shows or movies, franchises, whatever, directors, writers,
artists, playwrights, anything. Yeah.
You have your moment where you absolutely break through and you have your best, biggest thing. Orson Welles, Citizen Kane was his vital work. Not to say he did a lot of good shit. Touch of Evil, he did a lot of good shit up until the very end with F for Fake. A lot of really good shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was getting away from it. But I think Becky's doing really good shit right now.
Yeah, I think for the most part she's doing really good work. And what she's doing now is an attempt to reinvent herself, which I think is when somebody has reached their creative peak. You want to see them evolve, see them try new things, challenge themselves. Because I think when it's successful, that's the most rewarding stuff from artists whose work you appreciate.
There's a lot of other people that this sentiment could actually apply to. And I don't think Becky's one of them. Let's see here. Landon Smith has a hot take, and Landon Smith says, having Raw and SmackDown shows air live internationally for multiple straight weeks is one of the best decisions WWE as a company has made for the past year.
No, I agree that now, when regardless where in the world Raw or SmackDown are at, you can watch the show live. I think that's pretty neat. The days of having to, when they shoot the show earlier in the day and having to wait till 8 o'clock local time to watch it, and spoilers are out there, whatever, the case may be. The fact that everybody who watches WWE product can experience it simultaneously, I think is pretty cool.
Is there a time zone that they could go
There's
to?
24 time zones, Steve.
No, is there a time zone that they could go to that we'd be stuck having to watch it at 3 o'clock in the morning? I'm trying to think what that would be.
Yeah,
that they wouldn't shift around the time to make it make sense for.
I mean, for
California
example,
and
when
New York.
I don't know about 3 a.m, but when New Japan has their shows live, there was times where we'd start, if we were going to watch them live, it'd be at 1 a.m.
Right. Yeah. I'm wondering but okay. So what time is that? What time would that be in Japan? What's the,
Let me check. See how many hours ahead Tokyo is.
Yeah, I forget. But I wonder if they do a premium live event then from Tokyo, are we going to be asked
16
out?
hours. 16 hours ahead.
They're 16 hours ahead. All right.
So if they had a show that started at 8 o'clock in the evening, be 8 in the morning, that would be 4 in the morning it would start, if my math is right.
Okay, but if they do a show that starts at 5 p.m. there.
Yeah.
Then
that'd be 1 in the morning.
That'd be 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So I'll reevaluate this one when we get to that.
Well, I'm not saying, here's the thing. It's not like you have to watch it when it airs live. The fact that you can around the world, I think is cool.
I think that's great. I think you should do it live whenever it is. Netflix at 1 o'clock in the morning. Go ahead and run Raw from Tokyo. That's totally fine. No, I like it too. I'm just being selfish right now.
We got a hot take here from Animositis. Is that what it is?
Animositis.
Animositis says a Superman punch has never, not even one time, looked good.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm not huge on it either.
What are the it's a fucking awful. Neither of Roman's got. Here's a hot take. Roman has the worst moveset in all of wrestling.
Yeah, it's not the best.
He's got not even a top 5 spear. I'm not sure it's definitely not a top 10 all-time spear, but even right now in the business, it's not even a top 5 spear. It's the most mid spear I've ever seen in my life. And the Superman punch, there's nothing there. He has no move, and his choke is lame. All of his moves are lame. Yeah, he's a good storyteller, as a wrestler, and even then, it relies on the first half of his matches being really slow.
Yeah. Remember, he used to put people up in the Razor's Edge position and then powerbomb from that.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was a cool move.
That was all right. But yeah, Roman's moves are imagine maybe maybe Roman would be a Mount Rushmore guy if he had a better moveset.
It could be.
Yeah.
Jay Smooth here says Malachi was holding Brody King back in AEW, and him going back to WWE is one of the best things to happen to AEW Brody this year in hindsight.
Again, you really gotta put that at. I understand the sentiment, I do, because you can look at the wrestler and take your grievance out on them when it's really a creative thing.
Yeah.
But again, why wouldn't they explore dynamics and personal ambitions within a faction with Malachi and Brody and Buddy Murphy? Do that.
Yeah, the fact that the creative for House of Black was not terribly good for the most part in AEW was really the culprit here, not so much Malachi specifically, because Malachi didn't book any of it. If they were booked as an interesting faction with interesting dynamics between the characters that were explored in interesting fashion, I don't think we'd be having this discussion. Cable FF7 Forever, I wonder if that's Final Fantasy 7.
Could be.
Says Dolph is only good at selling and was never world champion material. I know Steve's going to agree with this one.
He was big gold belt championship material.
That's what he won.
Just like Jack Swagger and Alberto Del Rio and The Big Show. And I mean, at a certain point, there was a certain wrestler who fit that big gold belt because it was the shittiest booked belt they had. So yeah, I think Ziggler was big gold belt material, but he never belonged in the proper top title conversation ever.
He got himself pretty over, though. 2012, 2013. He was incredibly popular. And not many wrestlers get popular simply because they sell well.
He was popular because of the cash-in.
No, even before the cash-in, he was popular. He was.
Nah.
Orange Slice Soda, the hot take, says, as much as I really love the different venues AEW has been using for TV, it unfortunately makes them look like less than what they really are.
When are they getting out of that ECW vortex, man?
That's the next week. They got this whole week's going to be there. So next week they're out.
Next week they're out? Okay.
Yeah, so this kind of goes with this next one from Tony, the Pokemon guy. Says, wrestling companies doing residencies in certain states for extended times create boring crowds. And I understand that. Then you're oversaturating that particular market, especially in the case of AEW, where they did 2 weeks in Chicago, now 2 weeks in Philly. They're great wrestling towns, historically, and that's probably why they think they can get away with it. But nonetheless, if you oversaturate a market, enthusiasm, unless you're putting on banger show after banger show, is just not going to be sustainable throughout the entirety of the run, probably.
Yeah, I feel, when they do, you and I talked about this on our AEW review last week. When you specifically run a venue that's got a certain type of history to it, it would be kind of cool if you do something thematic with it more than they did, because it kind of did a half-assed thematic job. But yeah, doing residencies, I get it. I understand from a business perspective why they do it.
Yeah, it makes sense. It keeps costs down. Yeah. 900
people in a building looks small fry for a company that's getting $160 million a year for the TV.
It does. And if not advertising it as a special thing,
Yeah.
Oh, we're taking AEW to the extreme for one night only,
If you had a crowd as hot as one of those ECW crowds, then cool, do it. That's awesome. If you open up the show, on that they do like a wide angle, you see the crowd just fucking going crazy the entire time. But modern wrestling crowds just don't do that. They're like, hey, this is fun. This is cool.
Yeah.
Look, we're on TV. It's just you can't that atmosphere. That atmosphere is gone from wrestling for the most part.
Yeah, it is. It is. AEW is at a spot where I appreciate they're running smaller buildings that have a lot of character, but I think there should be a floor to
How small? How much
Yeah.
character?
Yeah. Well, not so much how much character, how small the building is. Because again, if everybody understands the historical importance of the ECW arena, and if you do like, a special one night thing, AEW is doing the ECW arena, you make it about that and incorporate it into a show in a way that makes it exciting and unique, not just another Dynamite at a historic venue.
Yeah.
But like when they run the buildings that are like 3,000 to 4,000, have some character. I like those. Those are great.
You can make 3,000 people look really good.
See, I'd rather have a sold out 3,000 or 4,000 seat building that has some character than a half full NBA arena for an episode of Dynamite where you could hear conversations ringside.
Well, come on, a half full NBA arena is 8,000 people.
Sorry,
I think
quarter full NBA arena. Sorry,
you're right about that. If it's 3,000,
and the optics are better if you're in the smaller building
right.
and it's full versus the larger building and it's 3/4 empty.
And some buildings are just shoot better than others. You can have the AEW's they've run buildings that are like 3,000 and it looks like 1,000.
Yeah.
So like there are some venues that just look better for TV than others.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole like, hey, we're going to be here for 3 weeks thing. Come on, man, you could do better than that. You don't need to take up that. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Let's come on. Let's get out of here.
All right, it's time for the self-indulgent hot takes here. This is either Zarek or Z. Eric Whitworth with a hot take. This one I agree with. It says Larson is not a CM Punk hater.
Oof, I don't know. A lot of evidence to the contrary, my friend.
See, you're taking criticism of his current WWE creative on my part, in the fact that he's being booked to be not that interesting of a character currently, as me disliking the performer, which I do not.
Oh.
I've said many times, I thought there was a lot of stuff in AEW I thought was really good. A lot of the stuff with Drew, really good. Right now, he just comes out as kind of watered-down CM Punk. You talked about that spark. You still feel like he has that spark. I feel like the crowd embraces him because of what he was doing 10 years ago, as opposed to 15 years ago almost, as opposed to what he's doing now.
10 years
if
ago,
another
he was sitting
performer
on his
was
couch,
doing the same thing CM Punk is doing now, people are like, but he can do it because he's CM Punk. His character is not that interesting right now. It just isn't. If it was, I'd be singing his praises. I just don't think his character is that interesting.
Number one CM Punk fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He's just not being booked as an interesting character.
I don't know what goes on inside the mind of Larson, so I can't tell you guys what his real feelings are. I just see things and I hear things. Diehard Homer says,
I'll say this. I think the fact that I want to see more from Punk, that's really what it is. I want to see more. I want to see more interesting work. If anything else, is a testament to the fact that I like his work. Because I think he's capable of more.
I think the fact that you don't groan every time we have to talk about him is indicative that you're not actually a CM Punk hater. But, I like to needle sometimes. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to needle a little bit here.
You're perpetuating a false narrative is what it is.
Me, I would never do that.
You do it all the time.
Diehard
Homer.
Yeah,
go ahead. No, you go.
Star Trek First Contact is the best Star Trek movie.
It's very good. It's probably top 5, yeah, easily.
Oh, man. I like First Contact. It, in no way, shape, or form, has the staying power of Wrath of Khan.
Mm-hmm.
Search for Spock.
Mm-hmm.
I even think Motion Picture #1 is a more interesting Star Trek movie. If Star Trek is all about its mission statement, seeking out new life, new civilization, the creation of V'ger between Ilya and the scumbag Decker. I think Star Trek 1 is a pretty fucking interesting movie.
Yeah.
It's just really long.
Yeah. Deliberately paced.
You know, in retrospect, you look back, it's not my favorite. It's, you know, I love the Next Generation. That's my cast. That's my jam right there, right? But like, it's an action movie.
It is.
It's
a
an
popcorn
action movie.
Yeah.
You know, they took the big bad that everybody loved, the Borg, and they threw him into an action movie where Picard got to be an action hero. Mm-hmm. And it's chock full of charm, and Frakes did a great job directing it. There is a little bit more these days of a reassessment of Insurrection, which I doubt you've even seen.
I haven't seen it.
It's where they go and they find basically the planet of it's like a Fountain of Youth planet. And it's very much a proper Next Generation 2-parter episode with a big budget. And at first it was people like really were not into that movie. And then now in retrospect, people go back and they're like, you know what? It's got a lot of charm because it just feels like an old school episode of Next Generation. And I actually feel that a bit more than I do First Contact. So First Contact, to me, it's not all. I like Generations more because we actually had the Enterprise D and the original outfits on the big screen. And it's like the most beautifully fucking filmed Star Trek movie. It is such a wonderfully filmed movie. Like, you get to see the Enterprise D bridge like properly lit, like with like a good cinematographer.
Yeah.
So I don't know. First Contact is sort of like falling off for me, but in terms of emotional heft, nothing beats the duo of Wrath of Khan and Search for Spock.
Yep.
Those are so good. I could watch those over and over.
4-hour meditation, 4+ hour meditation on growing old and one's mortality.
It is. Yeah, it absolutely is. And I've even come back around to Star Trek 4. I've come back around to that. I still have never seen 5 in its entirety. Every time I try, I can't.
It's so bad.
I'm like, it's so awful.
It is.
It's so bad.
It's horrendous.
6 is great too. 6 is great too.
Good.
See, I mean, I'd honestly, I'd put 2, 3, 6, and 1
above First Contact,
and then Generations. Yeah, above First Contact. Yeah, maybe I've seen it too many times. I don't know.
That could be. Ozzy here with our last hot takes is Alien. Oh, we have one more after this, don't we? I guess not. Alien is a better movie than Jaws.
Oh, did we have another one that I got rid of?
Oh, there is that Tarantino one, most overrated Tarantino movie. Overrated Tarantino.
Oh, well, that was the only reason I got rid of it. It was a question. If he had said this is the most overrated Tarantino movie, but we can do that one. We'll end on that one, but it was more of a question. Alien is a better movie than Jaws. What do you think about that one?
I think I like Alien more personally, but that's just more like the slow, tense build I appreciate more. That's just more my kind of filmmaking than Jaws. And that's not a slight at Spielberg. I like a lot of Spielberg's work. Yeah. And I understand the historical importance of Jaws. It, I guess for better or worse, kind of set the bar for the summer tentpole movie.
Yeah, they're both incredibly important movies, yeah.
They are. And the fact, given the limitations that they had to work with Jaws, it's incredible that movie came together as well as what it did. Mm-hmm, the shark apparently looked like shit, and that's why they never really showed it.
Yeah.
And there's some really iconic scenes in Jaws. It's a good movie. Yeah. But Alien is just more kind of my speed.
Dude, they're so different. So it's difficult to put them side by side.
I guess the one thing they have in common is, like, you don't really see the shark until the shark eats the boat,
Yeah, right.
And they really build to that moment.
Yeah.
And same with Alien, they really build to the moment where you first see the alien, know, and the different approaches in terms of how well they sustain that tension of that reveal. That's kind of what they have in common, but also, obviously where they differ too. Because I just feel like Alien is such, by the time you see the first alien bust out a dude's chest, fuck.
One conversation we've had before is the difference between Goodfellas and The Godfather. And I feel like Jaws is like the Goodfellas and Alien is like the Godfather. Like Alien is like, oh my God, cinema.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Jaws is summertime popcorn movie, but it's like really fucking good, you know?
Yeah.
Because you get all those really entertaining conversations and the cast just gels. Whereas Alien, like, the cast is cool, or the characters are cool with each other, but there's also just that tension. You're in space. You ain't on a beach. You're in space.
You're on a spaceship and you're stuck in space and you can't get off it.
Right, exactly. You can't get out of that
You can
shit.
move out of that town that's got this shark biting people.
Just get in your car.
You don't go in the water.
Yeah. You know, my dad vacationed there.
Oh yeah.
It's fuck, what is it? It's the Kennedys used to go there too.
Oh, Massachusetts.
Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was watching like some old home movies from like the mid to late 50s.
Yeah.
That my grandparents took. And my grandpa was like, right here. And a couple of years later, well, it was 20 years later, they filmed Jaws. And I was like, oh my God, they did. You fucking see it.
Yeah.
You like see the setting.
Well, I guess the movie was, it was filmed in Martha's Vineyard, but it was supposed to be in the fictional Amity Island in New York.
Yeah, right. Yeah. This was, Massachusetts. But yeah, both terrific movies. But yeah, my jam... Dude, it's just so they're so unique and entertaining in their own way. Boy, they're both so good.
Really
they're
good.
both so good. Yeah,
Really good.
All right, man.
All right.
We'll do this one from Meowing. There's a question. What do you think is the most overrated Quentin Tarantino movie? I know my answer.
I haven't seen all those movies, so I'll just have to give my answer based on the ones I've seen. Like I haven't seen the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood one yet.
Oh, I love that movie.
I never saw Hateful Eight either.
That one I stopped like 15 minutes in. I was like, sort of not doing it for me.
I guess the ones I have seen. Gosh.
I'm kind of surprised, like off the bat, you don't have the answer that I thought you would have.
Do you think I was going to say Reservoir Dogs?
No, I thought you would
Pulp
say
Fiction.
just Kill Bill immediately.
Oh, yeah. Kill Bill. I forgot about Kill Bill. I was not into Kill Bill. I was not into it.
People love those fucking movies.
Yeah.
They love those movies.
Yeah. Wasn't huge on. Like, I feel like there's a good 2 hour and 20-minute movie between those two Kill Bill movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of feel like it didn't need to be two movies.
Yeah.
Like, I think Uma Thurman's great. She's really good in those movies. There's some cool stuff. But it's just really overindulgent, it felt like, in a lot of respects.
1,000%. Reservoir Dogs might be my answer, though. Like Kill Bill, I can kind of if you were to say this, which movie in Quentin or which movies in Quentin Tarantino's catalog would you get rid of? It'd be the Kill Bill movies. I don't care about them at all, and people love them, so that probably is the right answer. But Reservoir Dogs was highly influential. And it's kind of a movie that doesn't stand up to its influence. Because I tried to watch it not that long ago. And I'm like, God damn. It's kind of like, honestly, it's kind of like Chasing Amy. Like Kevin Smith's big comeback movie. I watched that not that, actually, it was quite a while ago. I tried to watch that again. I'm like, God damn, I can't get through this movie. Some of the dialogue is just so like, it's hard to listen to. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even saying from like, oh, it's so offensive. It's just sort of not great written, you know? And yeah, I mean, Reservoir Dogs, it basically steals from that Kubrick, The Killing, like almost wholesale in some parts. There's the cool ear part. That was cool.
Yeah.
And Tim Roth gives a hell of a performance, just a hell of a performance. He really does. But yeah, in terms of that being like, oh my God, this classic indie film, it was highly influential, like big time influential.
Yep.
Pulp Fiction, in my estimation, still really stands up. Like, there's a reason why everybody was trying to ape that afterwards. I watched it even like fairly recently. I was like, God damn, this movie still fucking holds up. I really like this movie. But Reservoir Dogs doesn't do it for me. It's just trying too hard to be cool, you know? It's just it's doing that thing. And yeah, but no, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I fucking love that movie. That is my favorite. It's like that, and then Jackie Brown are my two favorite Tarantino movies. Those are actually really good, fucking awesome movies.
You excited for the Fincher directed sequel?
I am. Oh, big time. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that. Anyways, that's gonna do it for the show. Thanks everybody for your hot takes. Till next time, we'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.